make this a Friday habit. We're going to come on and show off the latest improvements on our plugins at the Ritz 7 and PronoCoders plugin studio. And today is our first one, our inaugural Zoom, and we're going to start with the PDF plugin. And we're super excited to show it off because we've been using it internally now for several months, and we want to make sure that everyone else has the same opportunity to use it and enjoy it, as it alleviates so much stress and so many of the headaches that come with trying to publish and generate PDFs from your Bubble app. I'm going to hand it over to Ritesh. He's going to go ahead and perform the demonstration, and I will be chiming in to help talk through things and answer questions in the chat. So if you have any questions as we're going, please just go ahead and toss them in the chat, and then we'll invite you to go ahead and ask them to Ritesh directly when it's a good time. Thanks, Ritesh. Go ahead and take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. So let me just show what all do we have in this PDF plugin. There are a bunch of things that we can do using this PDF plugin in two methods. I'll explain what are these methods and when you can use each of these methods. So we have a few types of clearing a data range from Google Sheets. We have few types of sending data to Google Sheets, inserting rows to Google Sheets, deleting the added rows, generating PDF from Google Sheets and Google Docs. And you can download them as PDFs or download them as CSV in case of Google Sheets. And you can also create a copy of the file and delete the file that you created.
So just
we have
just stopping here for a moment. So this plugin generates both PDFs and CSV files. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
Awesome. And then we do that by sending data into Google Docs and Google Sheets, and then having the Google Suite go ahead and generate the PDF and return it back to us?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Awesome. Perfect. Please
so
continue.
The CSV can be generated only from Google Sheets. That's obvious. But PDF can be generated from either Google Sheets or Google Docs. If you want to generate an invoice or something which needs a tabular form, then probably you use a Google Sheets. But if you want a letter format, like a joining letter or contract letter or something like that, then you could use a Google Doc.
Which is what I've been doing recently, and it was actually really easy in the project that I had in the past. Whenever I've promised PDFs to clients, I've always kind of added a lot of time into the estimate just to account for how am I going to go about getting this just right. And it actually was the least expensive time-wise thing that we did in the project because of this plugin. So thank you, Ritesh.
Welcome. So we have two methods. One is the script method and one is the API method or OAuth method. I would recommend to use the OAuth method because that's basically you are not sharing the data with us directly. It's happening via the Google OAuth method. Script method will require you to share the Google Sheets, the Google Docs, or the Drive, whatever you are using with support@rit7.com so that we can run the script on your behalf.
Right. So if I decide to use the script method, which is it's the easier method, then I am effectively having to share the Google Sheet or the Google Doc with anyone with the link, and so that they can edit it, right?
Yep.
And that is less secure than using the API method, which can mean that I don't have to share it with anyone. Now,
exactly.
But it's still, when we're using this method, the data that we're sharing, if it's not particularly sensitive, it is only in the Google Doc or Google Sheets as long as we need it to be to generate the PDFs. It's not just sitting there, right?
Right.
Okay, awesome.
Cool. So let's see the sheets that we have and the data in here, just to ensure that when we run this workflows, there is change here. And we also understand that the PDF are getting generated properly. So this is for tabular data. We have some data added in tabular form. Split data, this is more of an invoicing thing where we can generate the invoice. So we have some data on the top with issue date, paid date, payment status, and some billing addresses here. And we have the items which are going to come from bubble to here. And then we have some static data here, or rather we can also make this dynamic, but these are particular cells. Okay, so after the dynamic data, we also have a few cells here. Delete rows, it's just to delete a few rows from here. Basically, the delete row is to delete the added rows over here, because you have some static data on the top, or some static rows on the top and some static rows at the bottom. And you don't know how many number of rows you would want to add here. It could be just 2 items, it could be 10 items, it could be 25 items. And hence we have provided an option to add rows and delete those added rows so that you come back to the original template that you had when you started.
Perfect.
Then we have clear sheets, couple of them. We'll show you how it is getting cleared and how we are running this workflows. Just in case if you want to see the Google Sheets or the Google Doc, then we have given the link over here. This is shared in the PDF plugin description. So you can come over to this particular project to see how we have used the workflows, which will help you.
So if I go to the plugin page, I can see the demo editor, and then if I preview it, I can click those links to see the demonstrated spreadsheet link. Google Doc link. Okay, perfect.
Okay, so let's start with the clear sheet range. I'll first go with the without Google Auth, because the only difference between without Google Auth and with Google Auth is we just have to add the auth token and nothing else.
Yep.
Okay. Perfect. So like I mentioned, I just go here, and here is the clear sheet range. And if I go here, you see that auth token is left empty here. This will work only if the sheet is either made public or shared with support@rit7.com.
Oh, so it is possible. Wait, what was that?
As an editor.
As an editor?
Yeah.
Oh, so I don't. So I think I used to have to share it with anyone with the link and make them an editor, but you're saying if I just share it with support@rit7.com and make that an editor, then I can use it without the OAuth.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Okay. So as long as the information is not sensitive, and it should be fine.
Yeah.
To share it with you. Okay, perfect.
Okay. So if we go here, we have this clear sheet, which uses the key value pair. Okay, so we have to give the spreadsheet ID. One thing we have to keep in mind is throughout the actions that we are going to do, we'll have to give the spreadsheet ID, which basically means the ID that we get from here until here. So this is the unique ID that Google gives for each spreadsheet. And we need to mention this in the spreadsheet ID field. And data set for the clear sheet is used with key value pair, key being the sheet name and value being the range. Okay, if we see, we have given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sheet range combinations. So the first one being clear sheet 1 or C5 D10 E2 F6, clear sheet 2 D10. So you can see that the ranges are given in different order. So basically this means we just have to clear from C5 to D10 and E2 to F6. But this means you clear starting from D10 until the last row and last column. Okay. Perfect. And you can give multiple ranges in the same sheet separated by a comma, like we have done here. Okay, so let's see what happens here. So I'm running this. Let me hide this.
Welcome, Abhilash. Good to see you.
Okay, so this has cleared a few things. As you can see, it has cleared these cells here, some cell here, the phone number, and it has also cleared some ranges in between here, because that's the range that we had mentioned. If you go here, you see that it has cleared from D10 till last column and last row. Sheet 3, it has cleared entirely because we gave the starting cell as A1. So it will automatically calculate the last column and last row and clear that entire thing.
Perfect.
And if we go with clear sheet range with OAuth method, then the only difference would be to give auth token. So bearer and auth token. We'll come to step where we say how to generate the auth token and how to use that. The next thing that we have is insert data in split range. So basically, when we're talking about insert data in split range, it's sending the data to separate cells. For example, if you would want to send something in F1, F2, F3, or rather F2, 3, and 4, and then we have B10, C11. So cells here and there, right? So how do we do that? We use the method called docsheets PDF. So again, spreadsheet ID needs to be mentioned, and the tab name. Tab name is the sheet tab name, okay, to which sheet we want to send this data. If you want to send the data to multiple sheets, then you will have to use multiple of these steps to send it individually, okay. The sheet range in split cell method will be each cell separated by a comma. So as you can see here, we have given F2, F3, F4, B10, C11, C12. So basically, we are sending the data to these 3 cells, plus here, here, and here. Okay. Likewise, the data will be separated by a comma. So we have current date and time plus days -5. So that is like 5 days before. We'll have to format it in a way where it has some text element, because Google Sheets, if you give it in normal date and time method, will not recognize it. Okay, so we have to give it in this format, okay, where you can use DS.
So we can send in text instead of a date. Right. Okay.
And then I've added one more date here, and then we are doing some find and replace here. I'll tell you why we have to do find and replace. Let me first run this. So you can see that we have got the data here. We have got 7 here, some phone number here, and some VAT ID here. And we have also got this thing added here. So for the second cell data, okay, we wanted it to be in a format where it says 10th, Feb 2023. So since the plugin uses comma as a separator to send the data to different sheets, different cells, if we want the comma to be sent to Google Sheets and shown on the front end, then we'll have to first use a find and replace in the data that has comma or that requires comma, and then pattern we have to give it as the same thing. So here what we did is we did text to find as comma and replace by double at. The same double at needs to be given in the pattern. So what this basically does, I'll refresh this and show you again.
So essentially,
Clear this
because we
manually.
have to use commas to separate the data and giving it to the script to send it over into Google Sheets, we
Right.
can't use commas in the text because that would break the functionality. So what we do is we first take the text that we're entering and we find and replace all of the commas with our pattern. And then we give
Right.
the pattern to the script to then do find and replace within Google Sheets to go and find and replace that pattern with the commas that we really wanted instead.
Exactly. So I'll quickly show that how that gets changed. So I'll click on here. And if you see here, initially it comes with doublet and then it gets replaced with a comma.
But it's so fast that we couldn't
Yeah.
even really see it there. Yeah, it's super
Right.
fast.
That's right. So that's split range. If you're talking about tabular data, that is, why does this keep coming? Okay, so tabular data is something like this where you have the data in columns, you keep adding rows. This can be done in two ways. One is you either send the data to you either send the data to a specific cell, that is you're sending the data starting from a specific cell, or you can send it to the last row specific column. Okay, so we have both of them here. I'll show you how each of them work. So if we go to tabular data, just the normal tabular data, again the action is same, doc sheets PDF, data to Google Docs, if I'm not wrong. We'll just check it quickly here. So yeah, data to sheets, auth method, and data to sheets, normal method. So this remains the same. Again, spreadsheet ID needs to be given, tab name should be given. The sheet range, this basically tells what is the starting row of the tabular data that you're sending. So if you give it as B18, then what it does is, this is so data tabular, yeah. So this basically is sending the data to split data from B18, that is here. So let's quickly check this. So we are starting from B18 on split data sheet, and I'm sending tabular data here.
So when we
If you
think of
closely,
tabular data, we're thinking about columns, right? So data tables, right? Essentially, we're
right,
sending tables into Google Sheets.
that's
So
right,
instead of split cell, where we were sending individual cell data into specific cells within a Google Sheet, now we're sending rows of data per column that we specify.
yes, that's right. Okay, and here the data will be arranged in a particular order. That is, each row of data needs to be separated by a comma, and then each columns will be separated with double colon. Okay, so from this, what we understand is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 will be added to the first row. Okay, that is here, starting from B18. Based on the number of commas that we have, it'll add it to that many number of rows. Then it'll separate each column wherever we have double colon. And then again, item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4, item 5, 6, and 7 will be added in the next column. Likewise, the pricing and everything will be added in subsequent columns. Okay, let me first show you how this works. Yep. So if you see, we have got 7 items added here, 7 item names, the item price, quantity, and the total. Okay. Of course, this is not a formula. This is just the text coming directly from Bubble. Okay. If you already have a formula here, that will work. you can do that as well. So the beauty of this plugin is you can use all the formulas and formatting that you would get from Google Sheets, and it would still work.
Awesome.
So now that we have inserted, so basically here you didn't, I mean, in our case, we had 7 items, but it could be just 2 items, it could be 5 items, it could be any number of items, right? And that's why what we did here is we also added rows. Add rows, we have given it 6 because when we started, we just had 1 row left out here, and 6 rows were added along with this workflow. Okay, because we knew that the number of items that we are going to send here is 7. If you want to do this dynamically, then you can do a search for, and then say each item's serial number, or each item's name, each item's first name, and so on and so forth. And here you can say the same, do a search for count. Okay, so you'll understand how many data are you sending to Google Sheets, and that many rows you can add. Or if you have already left 1 or 2 rows here, then you can subtract those number of rows when you're adding it. Yes, Tony, you were saying something?
Oh, no, I was just trying to understand what you were saying about the last part with the number that we're entering. So if you go back to your editor, so the add rows, so adding 6 rows is going to add 6 rows where?
From B18.
From B18
right?
to
So
accommodate the data.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I'll show you what happens.
At this point, I'm guessing there's some questions about, well, what if I don't know how many rows it's going to be? Like, I can do this dynamically?
Yes. So if you are sending the data dynamically, then this would be something on the lines like do a search for users, right? And you will say each item's name, okay, which will allow, I mean, when you say each item's name, Bubble will automatically separate each of the names with comma.
So we have to do our find and replace trick?
No, because
okay.
Here we want the comma to be separated. Each of this names.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Because
different.
Before, yeah, for
exactly.
Sure.
And this is why we chose comma as a separator for each row.
Right.
Perfect. And then we can add double colon like this, and then we do search for users, and this time maybe we'll use each item's phone number, right? You can also do this from a repeating group. If you already have something displayed and you want to send that data to Google Sheets, then you could do that.
The repeating groups list
of things, right? And here also you will have to do the same thing. That is, you just do this, and instead of each item, you can just say count. Okay. And since we already had 1 row left there, I'll do -1 here. Okay. So this becomes dynamic.
Yep. Perfect.
Okay. And since you would want to generate this is for a invoice generation. So you would want to use the same template again and again. And hence you would want to delete the added rows so that next time when you are adding a few more rows, it will not be more than what we want, right? And that's why we have this delete rows, okay, which will ask you starting row number and number of rows to delete, right? Ideally, it would be good if you could make delete rows soon after insert tabular data, but after a delay of 1 or 2 minutes, because generating a PDF might take about a few seconds, okay, or maximum 1 minute if we have a large set of data. So we could just send this delete rows to the backend, because once you come out of this workflow, you don't know what is the starting point and how many rows of data or how many rows you want to delete. Right. So and you could just
I know
Mm.
the answer to this, but I'm guessing then the question becomes, well, what if I have more than one person who needs to generate a PDF at the same time? So we do have that's coming up. We do have a way of
Yeah.
handling that.
Right. Okay, so if at all we don't add this add rows, okay, that we have added here, what happens? Let's look at that. Okay, so here we have added add rows. This is I'll go back to this step, which is last row.
Just a reminder to everybody who's joined us today, you're welcome to throw questions into the chat here in Zoom, and we're happy to answer them.
Yep. So the next step that we have is insert data last row. And I'll tell you the difference here. One is the sheet ID remains same, tab name is tabular data because we want to send the data to tabular data here, which is already having a table. The sheet range is A. Here, what we are doing is when we mention the sheet range as A and not A1 or B18 or something, we are telling the plugin to auto calculate the last row. Okay, so if we give here as A5, then we are telling the plugin, you start from A5. If we just give the column name, that is A, B, C, whatever it is, then we are telling you auto calculate the last row and start sending the data from there. So if we go here, we see that the last data is there in row 12. And when I go here and say last row, it's basically going to add from A13. Okay, again,
That's so cool.
Yeah, so the number of columns is based on the data that we are sending. Each double colon would split it into different columns.
So never mind about PDFs. If you just wanted to keep track of data in a Google Sheet from your app, you can just continually add new data as it's created and have perfect record of it in Google Sheets.
Yes, exactly. So if I do the same thing again, it will start adding at 20. So this keeps happening at the last row.
Yep.
Now, if you closely observe, we've set add rows as 0 here. Okay. What I would do is, let's say, I'll give it as A6 just to show you what would happen. I'll say A6 here and I'll say add rows as 0. So it'll overwrite the existing data. Because I'm mentioning that it should start from A6 and I'm saying add rows as 0. So it'll override the existing data. Oh, okay. This will not work because we have some data at the bottom.
We
Here,
would need
basically,
to
we are
delete
adding
it.
some formula. Sorry.
Oh, we would need to delete it first or no?
Yeah. So when we are sending tabular data, the space where the table needs to fit in, that space should be empty. It should not have any data in it. Mm-hmm. Okay. But the same thing, what we could do is, since I know we are adding up to 7 rows of data, if I add rows here, then we'll see the difference here. Delete this. What it'll basically do is it'll leave the data as is, add 7 rows first, and then send those data. You see that? Mm-hmm. And this is exactly what we are doing in split data.
Yep.
Adding
exactly.
rows and then sending the data.
Perfect.
Okay, now delete rows. Like I mentioned, this is just for demonstration. We have kept the delete rows as a separate action, but this is in combination of adding rows. You will have to give the delete rows at the end, of course, with a delay of 1 or 2 minutes so that the PDF is generated before the delete row happens. So in the delete rows, we have added 2 delete rows. One is from delete row sheet and one is from split data. Starting row number is 19 and 6 in split row. And in this one, it's 5 and 2 rows. So let's go here. Delete row is here. It's 5 and 2 rows. That means it starts from 5 and 2 rows of data will be deleted. Let me just color this with this one. And again, these rows are getting deleted. So let me just delete rows. Yeah, so it's deleted and this has come up. Likewise here, if you see, I had colored it and it's no more there. So those 2 rows of data also got deleted. Download PDF Google Sheets. This is another.
Now we get to the PDF part.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. We've been working up to it this whole time.
So spreadsheet ID. This is a common thing that we have to give in almost all the actions. If you want a specific range, for example, in this particular case, we have this invoice. Let's say I would add some item here. Item price 12 to 24. Let me add one more row. Item 2, 23 to 36. Okay. So let's say we want to generate this invoice. Now, I'll just format this. Okay. If we know the range, then we could give that range. For example, in this sheet, let's say we want just from A1 till G20. Okay, we could do that. So I'll just remove this, split data. I'll give A1 to G20. Okay, so again, this is in key value pair. The key will be the sheet name and value will be the range that we want for the PDF. Okay, we can give the name of the PDF file that that gets generated. We'll come to the CSV part and app home URL. We have to give the URL of the app. So basically, and say website home URL. Okay, auth token is required only if you are using authorization method. So let's see. And also this will just generate the PDF and upload it to the file manager. Download a file will allow you to download. So it should be result of step 1's PDF. And you can also give the name of the file that gets downloaded. So we have given testing 1 here. Let's see what happens. So testing 1 is the PDF that got downloaded. And if you see, it has taken the range that we have given. Okay, nothing else. But if at all, I don't give this range, or if I give A1, just A1, then it will auto calculate the last row and the last column and generate the PDF. So you see that this cells were also added.
Awesome.
Yep.
Any questions so far?
Hello,
or
I've got
any.
a quick question. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Nathan, how's it
Hi,
going?
I'm doing well, thanks. So on that download right there, I noticed you had a logo in the upper left-hand corner that wasn't downloaded. Is there a way, whether that's a logo or an image, is there a way to get that portion to download as well?
Yes, ideally it should get downloaded. Let me just quickly check. Download as PDF.
Yeah, it should have been there. Good catch, though.
So basically, if you observe, the PDF generation works exactly like how if you do file, download, and then PDF, whatever result you get when you export this, the result of PDF generation will be the same. So the logo is not getting generated even in this step, and that's why it's not happening there. But let's figure out. I mean, I think it's just about.
I know Google Sheets can be finicky on putting an image and the image sits on top. And I mean, there's some different things that you can do.
Yeah.
So
Right.
It says a lot to say it works the same way. So you could experiment with straight in Google Sheets first. And if you get it to work, then, because I would want to download like a company image, which would be dynamic, and you just can't place it in there. So
Right.
But we've had success sending pictures into
Yes.
the sheets and printing it as a PDF as
Right.
well. So not just static images, Nathan, like we'll figure this part out.
Right.
But you can also send the images in. I think Amanda has also had success with that.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't have to spend time on that now. I just wanted to, I wanted to get your feedback on that, but yeah, that's great.
Yep. We've had that working.
Yeah, so you can have images, you can have graphs, like whatever is possible on Google Sheets. You can definitely have all of that in your PDF now. Okay, so if you want multiple sheets to be combined into one PDF, that's also fine. That's also possible. But the only thing is you cannot give the range there. You just have to mention what are the sheets that you want to combine. Okay, so let's say here we have delete row, which I'll add it over here. The range, even if you give it, will be ignored. It will combine both the sheets together. So we have all this data, one after the other. So you can combine any number of sheets that you would want out of the Google Sheets that we have. I mean, from the sheets or tabs that we have here.
Instead of, instead of having it download right there, is it, I assume it's possible to maybe send that into a backend where you're emailing that file to the customer, or putting it in on screen as a link that they can do something with in the future in their own file management system of some sort. Okay.
Right. So this step, download a file, we have added this just to show you it gets downloaded and we could open it. But this particular step, which will generate the PDF, is basically adding the files onto your file manager. So if you go here, testing one, all these PDFs were just generated, which got uploaded to our server or this app's database, right? You could link it to your database. You could allow them to download. You could send it as an attachment. You could do whatever you want. And good part is all the workflows that I'm showing you, all the actions that I'm showing you, apart from download, works even from the backend workflow.
Yep.
Oh, okay, that's great.
Which is fantastic, because then you can, you can send automatic, so automated invoices. You can do whatever you need to do with PDFs, you can set it into a recursive workflow and let Bubble handle it for you.
Yes. So now, since we have this data added here, okay, one below the other, let's say we want to generate a CSV file, right? So it's much similar to generating PDF, but you don't have to give the PDF file name, just give the CSV file name, and it'll download the CSV. So in this example, we have done it for delete row, which is this one where we have a lot of data. Let's see how that works. Again, the same thing. This is also uploading the file to the server. We can download it, or we could just use it for our backend. So all the data that we had in that particular sheet has got downloaded as CSV. This is combination of both. That is basically you give the PDF file name and also CSV file name. And how do you differentiate it is, if you see here, it is a result of step 1's CSV here. And in PDF case, it was result of step 1's PDF. If you're using both, that is download PDF and CSV both, then one step will be to download a PDF and another step will be to download a CSV. If you are giving both the names, then it will upload both the files to the server file manager. And then copy a file, delete a file. We'll finish the Google Docs part and I'll then come to this one. Okay, so Google Docs, let's look into the Google Docs. This is the template that we have. Okay, hello, name. We are pleased to offer you a role at our organization. Your joining date will be date. Hope to see you soon. Regards, Rit 17, Rit 7, and this one. We have two types of, two data added here. I'll show you the difference between the two, right? So I'll go here, download PDF Google Docs. This is a single step to send the data to Google Doc and generate the PDF. So document ID, just like spreadsheet ID, we'll also have a document ID, which starts from here and ends here. The file name is the name that you want for the PDF, which is generated from this template. We can give offer letter. Home URL is basically this one. So here we have again key value pairs. Okay, what this name, role, and Rit 7 and these things mean is the dynamic data that you want here. Okay, excluding these symbols, whatever is between them, right? Name we have here, we have date here, we have role, then Rit 7 and dash Rit 7 dash, right? So those things are added here. Those are the keys, and the values are the text that you want to replace. Okay, so name will be replaced with GP, role will be replaced with developer, Rit 7 will be replaced with this link, and dash Rit 7 dash will be replaced with this link. I'll show you how it looks. Date will be replaced with this. Okay, so let me just generate a PDF out of this.
Holding my breath, hoping that the dashes mean it's hyperlinked.
Exactly.
I haven't seen this. This is new to me.
I mean, this use case came from your example.
Yeah, exactly. I needed to be able to send in to hyperlinks. So
right. So the name has got replaced with GP. The role has got replaced with developer. The date has got replaced with March to 2023. That's how we sent it. And if you see here, I'll show you the template. We had Rit 7 and dash Rit 7 dash. So if you just send it, if you just have it as Rit 7, then it will be replaced with the link. I mean, only the link will be replaced. The text remains the same. But if you have dash rit7 dash, then it will replace the entire text with the link itself.
Okay.
So you have both the options.
Both options. Okay.
Right.
Can you show us in the editor again?
Right. So in the editor, it's dash rit7 dash or rit7.
So if I just said rid7 and I replaced it with the link, it would keep the
rit7 as
whatever
is.
that is and then replace it with the link. That's fantastic.
Right.
Awesome.
Right.
Good job.
Okay, so we have finished generation of PDFs with all the scenarios. Let's see what is copy a file and delete a file and why do we need that. Okay. So Google Sheets or Google Docs is, even though it allows multiple people to edit it at once, but multiple people cannot be editing the same cell at the same time. Okay. And when we are generating the PDF from it, we are probably using the same cells. For example, in the case of invoice, we would want to change the F2, F3, F4, and a few other cells. So if we are using the same file with multiple users, then it will overwrite and one person might get the right result, someone might not get the right result. So what we have done is we have allowed copying a file. So basically you will use this as a template, right? And before you generate an invoice, you create a copy of the file, then do all the steps, and then you delete a file. Okay, thereby not allowing multiple users to be editing the same file.
Exactly. So this
Good
is how
practice.
this is how you are allowing multiple people to use the same interface to generate PDFs without causing them to, I mean, so they won't ever get anybody else's data back. They won't ever conflict with each other in terms of needing resources. So
that's right. So I think it's this one here. Let me just quickly check where are we copying the file so that I can show you a demo of that quickly. File ID, destination folder ID. Yeah, it's here. So when I click on copy a file, it's basically copying a file and also it will give us the file ID. Okay, this is the file ID that we have to use the spreadsheet ID wherever we had spreadsheet ID. So here, if you see spreadsheet ID, everywhere we had spreadsheet ID. So that is the return value that we got from copy a file. Okay, and that file is got generated here. What I would do is just to show you how delete a file works. I'll copy this. We don't have to do manually because you are getting that file ID in the response of step one.
Right, exactly.
Right? But since I didn't store it somewhere, I'll do it manually here. Okay, I'll go here. I can rename this just to show you that this is the exact file that is getting deleted. 1, 2, 3. Google always recognizes the file with the file ID and not the name. I can delete this file.
Kind of like Bubble recognizes records by its unique ID.
Exactly. So as you can see, this file is got deleted, right? So this way, even if multiple users are using it, you can still get them a PDF, whatever for the data that they wanted, and not mess up with multiple users using the same file. Good practice would be if your app is not having thousands of users, then the good practice would be to create one copy for each user and store the file ID in the user's database. So whenever you are generating a PDF for a user, you say current user's file ID. Okay. But if you have thousands of users and you do not want to create thousands of copies of the same file, then probably you can create about 20, 50 copies of the file and then do, what is that called? Like you will have to work around with the workflows where you say, okay, first file is being used, so I'll go with the second file.
Oh,
10th
and
file
manage,
is
so keep track of
manage.
which one is in use at the same
Right.
time. Right.
Exactly.
Exactly. Okay. So you're saying the recommended best practice would be when you copy that file, you actually store that file to the user in some way, and so that
Right.
if they would need that again, it would make sense to do that.
Right.
Yeah. So
And delete a file could be used. Let's say you change the template, right? You have changed the template and you want everyone to have a new template. So what you can do is you can delete the file that already is there in the database,
mhm.
and then copy a file and store that ID in the database. So you have a copy of the new template that you have created.
Right. You could recursively go through and change out the templates
Right.
if needed. Okay. Yeah, this is
Well, would there be a reason you couldn't just add the copy bookend that your workflow of creating a PDF by creating a copy first, doing the PDF version, and then deleting that file all in the same workflow? So you're not trying to create 50 copies of something on the back end and add that task to the day-to-day stuff. Couldn't you just copy, create the PDF, and delete all in the same workflow?
Yep. Yep. You can do that. But imagine if your app is generating hundreds of PDFs daily.
Right.
Right. So you are taking so much time to create a file, then generate the PDF, and then delete the file. So a lot of calls are happening.
So I'm not clear why why would we have to make like several copies that then are generating copies? Is it because if I make once I make the copy of the template, then I'm working with the ID of my new copy of that file, right? And then
Exactly.
so is there a limitation on how many times, like in a row, like do I really have to reserve the template copy, or can I just make that copy and then I'm just working with that copy until I delete it? Do I have to make several of them?
No, I mean, you can do it in multiple ways. Like I mentioned, you can either start with copying a file, generate the PDF, and delete a file in one go, or you can create a copy for each user and delete it only once you are changing the template.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can create like 20, 50 copies of it and then doing.
Doing that. Yeah. So you weren't recommending that as like the best practice. The best practice is just to have one template that you spin off a copy of every time a user needs to use it.
Depends on the number of users and the speed that you want it to operate at. If you want it to be much faster, then creating a copy of a file would also take a few milliseconds or
a few milliseconds. Seconds. Okay, got it. All right, that makes sense.
So you can already create a copy and keep it ready for the users to use it each time.
Got it. Okay.
Any questions?
And if you were really worried about that user experience, you would just need to let them know this may take a few minutes. We can notify you, whether that's on screen or some other way, when the file is ready. So
yes.
To me, that seems a lot easier than trying to manage now files on Google Sheets, as well as, if that's your only concern of, it may take extra long for the user. I think, and I'm looking at it in my head, the user is going to understand if getting that portion of the service may take a minute. And if they just need the information, then print it on screen and it'll show up instantly. So if they want the PDF version, to me, I think the use is to email it to them. That that seems common to me. If I ever wanted an invoice from a customer that I'm using or a service that I'm using, I would expect it to come in an email.
Right.
But the download is nice too. But
Yep.
Good.
And if you did that, that also controls not having multiple versions of the same file. Because if user A clicks it on in second 1 and user B clicks an invoice on second 2, those workflows aren't ever gonna. If the first thing it's going to do is create a copy, then there's never going to be a duplicate. I mean, there's never going to be an issue with one file version.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so finally, the method that I would recommend is to use Google OAuth. And the only difference is to add the auth token. Let me quickly show how to generate this auth token and how to use it. So basically, we have an element called PDF element A. I think we have changed the name, but yeah, you can just add that element, which basically allows you to do two things. One is when you'll have to add a workflow, which will be get auth code via URL. And it'll ask you for client ID and redirect URI. We'll have a separate video done as on how do you create a Google Cloud project and where do you get the client ID from and redirect URI, how do you configure it? And we'll also need client secret. I'll show you in the next step where we need that.
But you shouldn't worry, because if you need help doing any of this, we support this plugin and all of the RIT 7 and PronoCoders Studio plugins at office hours. So if you need help, you can come to office hours and we will help you. And then we will also add you to a plugin support channel that we have. Amanda has actually been our beta tester of this PDF plugin, and she can attest that we are we're right there with you.
Right.
Yeah, the support has been really, really great. You know, anytime I have a question or not sure how to actually use it or fix it or can't even find my error, I've been able to reach out to the team, and they've been able to pinpoint me in the right direction and get it all working for me. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart, because I've spent many hours trying to find a solution that is working, but I haven't found anything that's worked as well as this. So anyways, thank you. I look forward to more plugins.
Thank you for helping us refine this. It's working with you has shown us all of the well, not all of the ways that we can improve it, but a lot of the ways that we can improve it. So we've been hard at work the last couple months making this ready for prime time.
Right. So this particular step asks for client ID and redirect URI, and it gives you a URL which needs to be opened. Okay, so let me show you. Get better token. When you click on that, it will basically open a link which will ask our approval for accessing our Google account. So I'll give this, and once we do that, we are going to get the code from the URL.
And this is for you to authorize your own Google account with the plugin, right? So this isn't for your users, this is for you. Like your users will not have to authenticate with Google to use it, just you will.
Right. So this is the code that we need, and we have gone ahead and made that available for you via our element. So our element key will keep checking the URL to get this code. So you just have to add do when PDF element is auth code is not empty, right? And you will get that auth code. The next thing that you will have to do for getting the access token is to use get access token via code, okay, which will require the client ID, client secret, and the code that you got from the element and the redirect URI. So input these details and you will get access code. And this is via refresh token. Along with this, you would also get, along with the access token, you would also get a refresh token. I mean, that's the general scenario if you're working with Google OAuth or even Microsoft for that matter. So there is one more call which allows you to generate access token via refresh token. So this requires client ID, client secret, and refresh token. So refresh token you would get from this particular step. You might have to save it in the database and reuse it every time you want to generate the PDF. Because access token is valid for 3,600 seconds. That is maybe
like
1
that.
hour. Or,
1 hour, something like that.
right.
So when we save it, do we just need to save the access token once in like one place in the database, and then it's forever good for that particular connection to Google? Okay.
Right.
Fantastic.
We'll have to use the refresh token. Okay, so access token is good for what, 1 hour or so. We'll have to generate the access token every time it expires. I think it's 3,600 seconds. That is 1 hour. So you might want to refresh your access token every hour to ensure that the workflow is smooth.
So just like in a recursive workflow, every 55
exactly.
minutes, go and refresh it.
So
okay.
You just use the refresh token, get the access token, save it in the database. Do it every hour, and you're good.
Okay. Perfect. Well,
and we have ensured that all the workflows with both the methods remain exactly the same, apart from in this method, you share it with us or make it editable to anyone. And with this method, you just provide the bearer token, nothing else changes.
perfect. That's amazing. So in addition to the support that you get in office hours if you purchase this plugin, we are making a commitment to make improvements as needed. So
Right.
if you have any feature requests or anything in particular that you are trying to accomplish with the plugin, you can come and get support for that in Coders office hours, and we will submit feature requests to Ritesh and his team. And I've always been impressed with the turnaround time. So it's hard, like I can hardly get out the request before Ritesh is like, yeah, I got it. And then the next day he's like, we've done it. And I'm like, wait, what? It was super fast. So yeah, so that's our presentation on the PDF plugin progress that we've made. But Ritesh, we're going to be doing these Zoom calls weekly. So I invite anyone who wants to attend the Zoom call to ask their questions and see all of this in real time. You can email us at team@pronocoders.com, and I will reply with the link. And that way you can join us in real time and ask your questions. But then also, what's on our agenda for next week? Which plugin will we be covering next week?
I think we could cover a couple of plugins, maybe the Google Calendar, which is the next more demanded plugin.
Sure.
And probably date, time, and currency.
Okay, so next week we'll be covering the Google Calendar integration plugin and the date, time, and currency plugin that we're rolling out. So you can go and purchase the, could you share your screen one more time, Ritesh, and show them where they can go to get this plugin?
The PDF plugin, you mean?
Yep, exactly. If you can show in the marketplace where we can go and purchase the plugin.
Yeah, so all the plugins will end with Rit 7. So if you search for them, then you will see like doc sheets and PDF by Rit 7, or whatever plugins that we are going to release, Outlook Calendar by Rit 7, and so on and so forth. So you'll get them.
So the PDF plugin is available now. It's ready to go. So please go download it and let us know what you think. We can't wait to hear your feedback. Thank you everybody for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you all.